In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, Amen. قبل كل شيء بنطمن عليكم كلكم لعل كلكم جميعا بخير وسلام وكده يعني يعدي ربنا هذه الفترة. هي فعلا لسه كنت النهارده بفكر بقول have I ever imagined يعني this will happen? It's impossible. But you know what it is? As I mentioned, maybe God is doing like a timeout. You know, when you watch a basketball game, the coach called for a timeout, everybody get together and discuss what happened. And maybe this is a timeout for everybody going home to spend time with your family and also to recalculate and evaluate. I hope all of us every second during the day, doesn't matter, we're busy with many things. Yani when we stay home, as much as you have a long day, but the day goes very quickly. Just want to let you know about the schedule for next week. جدول الأسبوع الجاي فيه اختلاف بسيط على فكرة. Start tomorrow 10 o'clock in the morning هنعمل before باكر. So as of tomorrow we'll be having like offering the morning prayer with incense. It's include also the supplication with the طلبات بتاع اللي هي طلبة الكلينوميت غناطة طلبة السن الكبير يعني. It will be like from 10 o'clock to 11:15, 11:30 and it should be taking 1 hour and 15 minutes maximum يعني tomorrow. فهنصلي بكرة tomorrow will be 10 o'clock and that's basically because we have 4 days until Friday will be the last Friday of the Great Lent. Then we're going to start the journey of the Great Holy Week as of Saturday يعني. The addition service that we're adding this week that every morning, 10 o'clock in the morning this week here, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Then we are working right now on the schedule from Friday to Easter night. We have not really finalized the schedule. Once we finish up the schedule, we'll let you know what will be happening with the schedule. But at least for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you have the morning meeting, 10 o'clock in the morning with a prayer, and then nighttime also 6 o'clock. On Thursday, His Grace Bishop David have like a weekly meeting and a weekly message. So every Thursday, we're going to try to finish by 7:40 maximum, 7:45. So we'll start our meeting 7 o'clock. And then we'll be tuning to His Grace Bishop David, listen to his message and also his announcement. We had a very beautiful meeting last Thursday and this coming last Friday. And this coming Wednesday, we have another meeting with His Grace to discuss and finalize all the plans for the Holy Week and what's happening in our church. We wish you all really healthy and enjoying your time together with God, number one, and with your family. And I hope really this time will be basically a good time. And as I always say, honestly, as much as there is a lot of things about this time here to be home, but I'm sure when all of us go back to the normal life, we're going to remember this beautiful, amazing family time that we're having right now. By force, there's no by force, all of it. I'm sure it's going to be all of us remember. فاكرين أيام كورونا؟ يا ريت ترجع تاني كورونا عشان نبقى في البيت مع بعض مع الأسرة بتاعتنا. We eat dinner every day, and have a good time together. We fight together, we laugh together, disagree together, but at least we're spending time with the family. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, today I'm going to continue actually. Last week I spoke to you about, last 3 days ago, I spoke to you about the book of Revelation and I gave an introduction to the book of Revelation. And I spoke a message to every church. Last week I spoke about the message to the church of Ephesus. Today I'm going to talk about the church of Smyrna, which is you. If you have the Bible, you can open the book of Revelation in chapter 2, start with verse 8. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, Amen. And to the angel of the church of Smyrna, write these things, says the first and the last, who is dead and came to life. I knew your works, tribulations, and poverty, but you are rich. And I know the blasphemy of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are synagogue of Satan. Do not fear any of the things which you are about to suffer. Indeed, the devil is about to throw some few into prison, that you may be tested, and you will have tribulation 10 days. Be faithful until death, and I will give you the crown of life. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. He who overcomes shall not be hurt by the second death, and glory be to God forever and ever. Amen. Last week, actually, or the last few days, I spoke about the church of Ephesus, and we talked about how the problem with the church of Ephesus, we call it the loveless church, or the church that lost the first love to God. And he gave them instructions: remember how you fall, repent, and do the first work. To the church of Smyrna, by the way, we call it, and the church of Smyrna, we call it the church of suffering. It seemed like this church actually was suffering a lot of persecution, a lot of struggle. But therefore, actually, the church of Smyrna, we call it the church of suffering. And it comes actually to right now because some of us are really struggling, some of us are suffering at this moment. There's a lot of people struggling, by the way, some in the hospital. But even if you work in the hospital, you're still suffering and struggling, seeing people dying in your eyes. If you are home, some people are struggling with a hardship, which financial hardship, whatever. But he's talking to those who are really suffering. And it's a great message for us tonight that, you know what, it's coming to them. By the way, the only church after the 70 churches, he did not rebuke the church. Yeah, the church of Ephesus, and even you will see the next church, that he said, I have something against you. Something that upsets about you. Something you're doing wrong. But because the church of Smyrna is struggling in church, suffering in church, going through a lot of troubles, and therefore he actually trying to give them word of encouragement. And that's something good message for us these days. All of us are struggling. Let's give a word of encouragement to one another. Let's support one another. Let's basically give a word of encouragement. And that's why he spoke to the angel of the church, verse 8, to the angel of the church of Smyrna. The angel actually of the church, as I spoke, we told you last time, the message going to the bishop, to the church. So actually, the bishop of that church said to Polycarpus, and truly said to Polycarpus, when you study his biography, he did actually go through a lot of tribulation until the last second of his life. And even the way he died was basically struggling and suffering. So it seemed like Polycarpus, the church was suffering a lot. So he wrote to him, actually similar to the church of Ephesus, basically said, and as we agreed last week, when he wrote to the bishop, does not mean the message to the bishop. The message actually could be the people, but he addressing the issue, the bishop, because he is the head of the church. And as I told you last time, if somebody want to write a letter to the archdiocese, he will go write it either to His Holiness or Bishop David, addressing whatever issue that he sees. But it doesn't mean that the message for Polycarpus, even so, it could be a message to Polycarpus, sent to Polycarpus, but also a message to me. And he writes actually, said, these things I say, the first and the last, who is dead and came to life. You know, when you talk to somebody struggling, suffering, for the first message I love so much our God. The first message is a message of encouragement and support. He said, you know what? I am the first and the last. Means I'm every day. And this is a good message for me and you today, right now. God is telling each one of us, don't worry about what's happening. I know coronavirus, so many people dying, so many people struggling. But remember, I am the first and the last. I am the first and the last. Means I'm the one controlling everything. And the Pantocrator, as we always say, for therefore do not fear. And he said to him, you know what? Who is dead and came to life. To remind us, those who are suffering, for the church that's suffering right now, the only one who is dead and came alive is our Lord God, Jesus Christ. He said, remember, the power of the resurrection. Christ died on the cross, but he came back alive. But therefore, even so, if you're suffering, if you're struggling, if you're going through a hardship right now, you are really struggling. But remember one thing, in the end of the struggle, there will be a glory. That's why I always say the equation of suffering, there's always suffering, there's always curse, but in the end, there's always glory. There's always glory. Verse 9, actually, when we go to verse 9, it said, I know your works, tribulation and poverty, but you are rich. Again, the word I know means giving us a very beautiful comfort. You know what? If you are in trouble or you're suffering right now, during your own tribulation, God is feeling of your tribulation. God understands your own tribulation. God knows what you are going through right now. He sees your struggle. He sees your power. And that's one time he gave to Moses, until Moses, when he appeared to Moses in the burning bush, he said, I hear now the voice of the people of Israel in Egypt, how they are struggling. I want you to go back to Egypt, and I want you to deliver the people out of slavery, and I'm gonna be with you. And he gave Moses so many promises that for no one, he said, I know your works, and I know your tribulations. For any hardship, any struggle that you are going through right now, God knows about it. He understands our feeling. He understands what we're going through. For the best person that you need to is God. And that's why I love during this hardship or during this time or during this suffering here, instead of actually focusing on God's punishment, focus on a time for me to flee to God, to run to God, and tell him, God, you are the one who can hold me. So he said, you know what? And he said, but you are, he said, I know also your poverty. You are poor, but yet you are rich. It seemed like the tradition actually said people in the Smyrna, they were basically take everything away from them. But they become poor. During the tribulation, they take everything away from them. But they have nothing. But to them, yes, you are poor. But in reality, actually, you are rich. And there's actually a beautiful verse in First Corinthians chapter 6. He said, you know what? St. Paul said, we are poor, but we can enrich others. We are suffering, but we can make everybody happy. Because we have one thing, we have Christ with us. Yet I am poor, but I can make other people rich. Because talking about riches this year is not about how much you really have, but who do you have in riches and poverty. When I have God, I have everything, and therefore I am rich. Verse 10, he said, do not fear. And I love this. This is a perfect time for us and for those who are suffering and those who are struggling. He said, I will look at servants Christ, do not fear. And that's what, if you notice, he's not telling him, I have something against you. He knows that they are suffering, they are struggling. So he's trying to give a word of encouragement. I am the first, I am the last. I understand what he goes through. You are poor, but you are actually rich. And here telling him a very beautiful promise. Do not fear. As I told you, the word do not fear mentioned in the Bible 365 times, which means every day you feel like you have any kind of fear, God is telling you, do not be afraid. I am the Lord your God. I am the Lord your God. Even when they came to Mary to deliver the message, he told the angel, told Mary, said to Mary, angel Gabriel said, do not be afraid, Mary. Do not fear. God will be with you. God will support you. God will guide you. For I love the verse 10. He's given a word of encouragement to the people actually in Smyrna. He said, do not fear any of those things which you are about to suffer. What you are going to suffer right now, or you are suffering, do not fear. I will be with you. I will support you. Indeed, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison, which means the devil is trying to basically put us in many troubles, in many temptations. But do not fear. I am the Lord your God, who always will be holding your hand. But therefore, do not fear for any struggle. So the devil is about to throw some of you into prison that you may test it, and you will have tribulation. So during suffering, by the way, it's time to test our faith, which I'm going to conclude, talk about the meaning of suffering. Suffering, it's a time sometimes when you start, it's testing your faith, testing how strong you are with Christ. And remember the equation of suffering. I remember when St. James said, you know what, count it all joy when you fall into many troubles or many trials, knowing that the testing of your faith will produce patience, patience will produce character. So even during a hard time or a hardship, God is telling you, I'm going to be with you. I will support you. Be faithful until death. A beautiful encouraging word also for all of us. Do not doubt. Be faithful. Even what? Until the last moment in your life. And even Saint Polycarpus, by the way, the angel of this church, actually, he was faithful until death. Yeah, in the end of the life of Saint Polycarpus, they told him, "Yeah, go through the fire." So they took Saint Polycarpus and threw him in the fire, but God saved him. But before they put him in the fire, they asked him, "Look, you know what? We want you to deny Christ. Deny him. If he's God, where is God? He can save you." And Saint Polycarpus said, "You know what? I have a good relationship, and I know God very well for the last 86 years of my life. And now you're telling me to deny him? He's been too good to me. Even if I'm going through fire, he will save me. For sure, he was saved from the fire. Then when he came out of the cut, actually, they murdered him, and he died in the name of Christ. So be faithful like Saint Polycarpus until the last moment in your life. Why? He said, I will give you the crown of life. As look, when you are faithful during hardship, during suffering, during trials, God will give you a different reward, which I'm going to talk about the first steps of suffering. God will give you the crown of life. And in the end, as always, he end and say, he who has ears, let him hear. It's about how you listen. How you listen to God's message. He who has ears, let him hear. It's a message how I hear God's message. And always every church you will tell him, by the way, it's about how you hear God's message. Number two, he always the word of encouragement. You know what? Also, he who overcomes shall not be hurt. Yani the two important messages for him. He who has ears, let him hear, and who able to overcome any kind of struggle, I will be with him. I hope all of us really, it's a beautiful message tonight to the Church of Smyrna. But I want to talk about suffering a little bit quickly here. Actually, suffering, I will read a beautiful verse from 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 21. I will look at St. Peter wrote, he said, for to this you are called. He said, for to this you are called. Because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps. St. Peter actually is given a tough message. He says, by the way, once you are called to follow Christ, to become a disciple of Christ, to become a Christian, to become a follower of him, you know, you have to suffer. For suffering for us, what's going on to us right now is coronavirus, nothing new to us. The church suffers through the history in many different types of temptation and many different types of struggle. He said, you know what? For to this you were called. Because Christ also suffered. He said, Christ suffered, but therefore we have to suffer. That's the equation. Leaving us an example. The example Christ left for us, that Peter is saying, that we have to suffer like him. We have to suffer. And it became a condition. Even Jesus told his followers, and those who want to follow, you want to be a Christian? You want to be a disciple? You want to be a servant? In Matthew chapter 16, verse 24, he said, you know what? If anyone wants to come after me, he must carry his cross and follow me. The condition here is one thing. You must carry. He did not say you have to. You must carry your cross and follow me, which means you must suffer. For suffering, actually, it's a gift. I'm going to talk about suffering gift. Even I tell you two quick story. First one, actually, St. Peter, when our Lord gets Jesus Christ in Matthew 16, he asked his disciples, he said, what do you say about me? For St. Peter was inspired, Peter 16:16. He said, tell me, you are Christ, the Son of the living God. But God actually commanded Peter, 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 you did not know that, but not that no flesh or blood revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And the testimony of St. Peter became our testimony, became the best. Actually, Peter discovered the divine nature of Christ in this beautiful moment. Then after that, actually, Jesus spoke to his disciple. He said, by the way, I'm going to reveal something very important. I'm going to tell you some secrets. Once he discovered that I am God, I am the Messiah, I am the Son of the living God, he said, by the way, I have to suffer. I have to die for you. I will die on the cross for you. I will suffer for you. For Peter, the one who actually basically praising God, revealing to us who Jesus is, the Son of the living God. And rebuke Jesus. Look, Hasha means, you know what? You can't suffer. How can you can't suffer? Jesus called him a tough name, very tough name. No, you can't suffer. You cannot talk to us about suffering. You will find this in Matthew 16:23. Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Go behind me, Satan." Wow, that's a tough word, by the way. Can you imagine أقول لواحد أنت شيطان? Go behind me, أنت شيطان. You are Satan. Jesus told him, Peter, go behind me, Satan. You are an offense to me. Wow, أنت بقيت 10. You are not mindful of the things of God. Jesus actually was very rough on Peter. Tell him, by the way, you became an offense to me when you said that I must suffer. It's a condition I have to suffer. The second example, actually, when our Lord Jesus Christ called appear to the greatest, one of the greatest disciples, St. Paul, in Acts chapter 9, tell him, Saul, Saul, why you are persecuting me? You know the story. Then told him, the Lord tell him, look, I wanted to go to Ananias, and I wanted to, he will tell you what to do. For the Lord actually appeared to Ananias. Ananias, a man will come to you, his name is Saul. He will become St. Paul. This man is a chosen vessel. And he will witness me everywhere. Basically, will become a great disciple. But he must suffer in my name's sake. And I asked myself, you called me to follow you, Christ, to suffer for 4 reasons only. Which one? Number one, the meaning of suffering for us. Number one, suffering is a gift from God. That's how we look at it. There's no other way. We never ask for it. God, thank you, allow coronavirus. But when you allow coronavirus to happen, thank you, Lord, because it's a gift from you. Let me use this time wisely. Let me use this time to become the best time in my life. For suffering become a gift from God. And that's, I told you about the story of St. Polycarpus. Number two, suffering become a blessing. We're not going to ask for it. In Matthew, Jesus on the mountain said, blessed are those who persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you. Blessed are you, blessed and how lucky, how good, how lucky you are. And we saw that in Abu Nafshi Kamil, God rest his soul, and when he actually got cancer, he considered it's a blessing. He said, thank God. And he called it the sickness of paradise. It will help him. It's a bridge. Cancer for him become a bridge to get him to heaven. Thank you, Lord, for the cancer. But number one, suffering is a gift. Number two is a blessing. For sure, it's a cross. Because Jesus said, once you follow me, you have to carry your cross and follow me. But it's a different cross, but it's a beautiful cross. God, in the end of the cross, there's always the glory of the resurrection. Therefore, do not look at suffering now, but look at behind suffering. I remember أبونا أمبرويس ربنا يديله الصحة والسلامة يعني God grant him a complete healing يعني. Amberwies always say to أبونا بشير Dimitri, شكة إبرة, every شكة إبرة needle كده بتpush come into your hand, and we say thank you, Lord. There's a big price for it in heaven. Last point, suffering is basically a crown. A crown, definitely a crown. As you heard when he said, be faithful until death. For suffering, for us, when you handle suffering, it becomes a crown. Be faithful until death, and I will give you the crown of life. So we look at suffering. Suffering is a gift from God. We're not going to ask God, help me, Lord, to suffer. Suffering is a blessing if God allowed it to happen. Suffering is a cross, and I know at the end of the cross there will be a light of the resurrection. And in suffering, there is actually the crown of suffering. May God help all of us to be like the Church of Smyrna, that they struggle a lot. And we look at this period and say, God, teach me. What do I learn from this period here? May God bless you, and glory be to God forever and ever. Amen. I will just دلوقتي هقول الكلمة بالعربي وبعد كده أختم. بسم الآب والابن والروح القدس الإله الرحيم. النهارده يا احبائي كنت المره اللي فاتت كنت بتكلم معاكم من كتاب سفر الرؤيا على رساله الى كنيسه افسس. النهارده اتكلم معاكم عن كنيسه سميرنا. الكنيسه افسس سميناها الكنيسه اللي ما كانش فيها حب، او الكنيسه اللي فقدت حبها للمسيح. كنيسه سميرنا دي كنيسه صعبه شويه، كنيسه عانت المات كثيره. وهتلاحظوا حاجه لما بيقول في الرساله في السبع كنائس، كل كنيسه يقول لهم عند عليكم، صعبان عليا منكم. ما عدا الكنيسه دي مش هتلاقوا، لما هقرا لكم دلوقتي مش هقول عند عليكم حاجه. لان لما الواحد بيكون بيعاني او عنده تعبان، عايز حاجه واحده بس، عايز حد يديله كلمه يديله القوه ويديله المعونه ويرفعه لفوق. فده اللي عمله رساله المسيح، رساله سمرنا. بسم الله والابن والروح القدس الواحد امين. واكتب الى ملاك كنيسه سمرنيا، هذا يقول الاول والاخر الذي كان ميتا فعاش. انا اعرف اعمالك وضيقك وفقرك مع انك غني، وتجدف القائلين انهم يهود وليس يهودا، بل هم مجمع الشيطان. لا تخف البت مما انت عديد ان تتالم به، ووجه ابليس مجمع ان يلقي بعض منكم في السجن لكي تجربوا، ويكون لكم ضيق 10 ايام. كن امينا الى الموت فاعطيك في الحياه. من له اذنان فليسمع ما يقوله الروح للكنائس. من يغلب فلا يؤذيه الموت الثاني، والسبح لله دائما ابديا امين. طبعا الكنيسه سمرنا اللي بنتكلم عليها بنسميها الكنيسه اللي هي عانت كتير. كنيسه عانت كتير فعلا. واضح حتى من الكلام، والسيد المسيح مع ما كانش بيوبخها، وبخ كل الكنائس مع الكنيسه دي. لان لما يكون الواحد بيعاني، لما بيكون تعبان، مش وقت للتوبيخ. لما يكون الواحد بيعاني وقت ان الواحد بيشجع. فبيقول اكتب الى ملاك كنيسه سميرنيا. ملاك الكنيسه هنا كل زي ما ذكرت بالانجليزي هو القديس بوليكاربوس، القديس العظيم. والقديس بوليكاربوس كان قديس حلو قوي قوي. واضح ان هو وكنيسته عانوا كتير جدا من الضيقات. كانت دي بدايه القديس بوليكاربوس كده في نهايه القرن الاول. كانت بدايه اللي هو الاضطهاد بدا يبدا عن المسيحيه، فعانى باضطهاد جامد جدا جدا جدا. فالرساله دي للكنيسه المضطهده، او الكنيسه اللي عندها الام، او الكنيسه اللي عنده تعب. اي واحد مننا مضطهد عنده تعبان، هي الرساله ليك النهارده. فبيقول كده: هكذا يقول انا الاول والاخر الذي كان لا ينفعش. طبعا اول رساله قال له بدل واحد كده عنده الام وبيعاني ومضطهد عايز كلمه ترفعه. فالسيد المسيح بيقول له على فكره انا هو الاول والاخر. يعني انا عايز اقول لك على حاجه، انا كل شيء. انا الاول وانا الاخر، يعني انا كل شيء. فكلمه تطمن الواحد حتى في الظروف اللي احنا فيها دلوقتي، في ظروف كورونا فيروس بتطمنا، كلمه بتطمنا. ربنا بيقول لك النهارده انا هو الالف وانا هو الاخر، ما تخافش. اي شيء هيحصل بارادتي، اي شيء انا بحرك الدنيا كلها. فما تخافش، انا معك كل الايام الى الى زي ما بيقولوا كده: ان كان رب معنا فمن علينا. وبيقول له كده: الذي كان ميتا فعاش. طبعا اللي كان ميت فعاش مين؟ رب المجد نفسه هو اللي عايش. فبيورينا حتى لو انت بتمر بضيقه فيها موت وفي تعرض لضيقات جامده جدا، ولكن نهايه الضيقه ونهايه الالم هتكون في حياه افضل مع المسيح. وبعد كده عدد 9 بيقول لك: انا عارف اعمالك وضيقك وفقرك مع انك غني. بيقول له انا عارف اعمالك. وقلنا هنا كلمه عارف، انا عارف يعني المسيح بيطمنا، عارف كل شيء اللي بيحصل دلوقتي. هو عارف باللي بيحصل، عارف بالكورونا فيروس، وعارف مين اللي هيرجع له ومين اللي مش هيرجع له. وانا بقول كده ربنا واقف كده بيقول: لا، انا في كورونا فيروس حصلت بس مستني الكل يرجع لي. هقعد انتظر لحد ما الكل يعمل كورنتين، يعمل خلوه مع نفسه في البيت. كورنتين يعمل منها خلوه يعني، ويقعد مع نفسه كده ويقول: لا، انا نفسي اقوم الان وارجع الان واكون اخطات. ولا عارف اعمالك وضيقه. كل واحد في ضيقه دلوقتي، ربنا بيطمنك، حاسس بينا ربنا. بيقول: مع انك غني، وفقرك مع انك غني. يقول انت على فكره فقير. هم اصل كانوا ناس غني اصلا، واتاخد منهم كل شيء في زمن الاضطهاد، فبالتالي اصبحوا فقراء. فبيقول: ما انا عارف انت فقير دلوقتي، بس خلي بالك انت غني بمين؟ غني برب المجد، غني بالمسيح. زي ما بيقول بولس الرسول كده: ان احنا فقراء ونغني كثيرين. فقراء ما عنديش شيء ولكن ممكن اغني كثيرين. يعني القديس الانبا انطونيوس بقى فقير وبقى كل شيء وعايش كده في صغير، بس الانبا انطونيوس بفقره كان ممكن لحد دلوقتي لحد اللحظه كل جيل وجيل بيغني كثيرون. وبيقول بعد كده في عدد 10 بيقول لا تخف البتة، ودي وعد جميل لكل واحد مننا. ما تخافش، ان كان رب معنا فمن علينا. وزي ما قلت لكم كلمه لا تخف موجوده في الكتاب المقدس 365 مره، معناها ان كل يوم ربنا يقول لك لا تخف لا تخف لا تخف. وبيقول له لا تخف البتة، ابدا مش ممكن. لا تخف البتة مما انت عديد ان تتالم به. الامك وتعبك اللي انت بتمر بيها دي ما تخافش منه. ان كان معاك على طول، حاسس بيك، حاسس بألمك وحاسس بيه بتعبك. هو ذا ابليس مجمع ان يلقي بعضكم في السجن لكي تجربوا. يعني بيقول لما تكون في وقت الزنقه ووقت الاضطهاد ووقت الالام وقت تجربه. وده السبب قال له عشان لما تجرب، وقال له على فكره وتكون مجرد 10 تمر 10 ايام. نسيت امنشن الموضوع ده بالانجليزي. كلمه 10 ايام هنا بيحدد ال10 ازمان بتاع الاضطهاد. دي نبوه ان الاضطهاد كان بدا بنيروبي وانتهى بدقلقيانوس. ولما تسمع الاباطره اللي هم كانوا في العهد دول من ايام نيروبي لحد دقلقيانوس كانوا 10، فبيقول له تعدي لسه ب10 اضطهادات وهتكون ايام صعبه جدا جدا جدا. زي ما احنا بنعدي بالامور دي، كل ما بنسمع التلفزيون يقول لك خلي بالك الايام الصعبه جايه، الايام الصعبه جايه، الايام الصعبه جايه. فرساله من ربنا يقول لك كن امينا الى الموت فساعطيك اكل الحياه. اوعى تشك في ربنا، بل المطلوب منك حاجه واحده بس، كن امينا لحد اخر لحظه. يمكن زي ما حكيت القديس بوليكاربوس كان مثال جبار جدا، كان امين لحد اخر لحظه. لدرجه القديس بوليكاربوس وهو كان في امانته ليا ان هو قالوا له انكر المسيح، فقال لهم لا، ازاي انا بعد 86 years old 86 سنه وانا بحبه وبعرفه وعلاقتي بيه حلوه، كيف تقول لي ان انا ان انا انكر المسيح يعني؟ فكن امين الموت وساعتيك الحياه. وبعد كده قال حاجتين: من له اذنان للسمع فليسمع، ومن يغلب. يعني عايز اقول على حاجه، اهم حاجه ان انت ان انت لو ليك اذنان كيف تسمع كلمه ربنا، ومن له اذنان للسمع فليسمع كيف تسمع. وفي نفس الوقت من يغلب، يعني اللي ممكن ينتصر في الاخر هو اللي هيكسب الجوله دي يعني. واتكلمت كده بسرعه عن الالام نفسها يعني. قلنا في آية جميلة جدا قالها بطرس الرسول في بطرس 2 عدد بطرس الأولى عدد صح 2 عدد 21 بيقول لأنكم لهذا دعيتم. أنا بتكلم ده عن الآلام والضيقات دلوقتي. لأنكم لهذا دعوتم فإن المسيح أيضا تألم لأجلنا تاركا لنا مثالا لكي نتتبع خطواته. يعني القديس بولس الرسول على فكرة بيقول الآلام والتعب والضيقة اللي بنمر بيها دي للمسيح بالذات مش اختيار، مش اختيار للمسيح، لان اكشولي المسيح عانى، فبالتالي احنا برضه لازم احنا برضه ان هو تارك لينا رساله. فلذلك دعاء احنا كلنا مدعوين. الدعوه عشان نتبع المسيح لازم يكون فيها الم. الدعوه عشان تصير مسيح لازم فيها الم. يقول نفس المسيح تالم، وبالامه ده ترك لنا مثال ان احنا نتالم زيه. يقول لك تاركا لنا مثالا لكي نتبع خطوات، لكي نتبع خطوات. واتكلمنا عن الالام ان القديس بولس الرسول لما ربنا دعاه وقال له ظهر له كده قال له شاول شاول الناس تضطهدني. فقال له يا رب طب عايزني اعمل ايه؟ قال له عايز اقول لك على حاجه شاول، يعني روح لواحد اسمه انانياس يقول لك اللي بيحصل. فبيقول لك راح لمين؟ لما راح شاول لانانياس، فربنا قال له وقال له قال لانانياس قال له على فكره جاي لك واحد دلوقتي هيكون ليا اناء مختار، ومش بس كده يشهد ليا باسمي في جميع الامم. بس خلي بالك سوف يعاني كثيرا من اجل اسمه. يا رب ايه ده؟ يعني انت تطلب من راجل شاول تغيره ويكون بولس ويكون يشهد ليك في كل مكان وتخليه بتعاني. وبولس الرسول كان بيعاني بحاجات كثيره جدا، مش بس عانى بالامات والايقاف وان دخل السجن وكان في المعزل في المنفى كذا مره، ولكن برضه واضح كان عنده الام جسديه كثيره. لانه وصل له وقال لي يا رب ارفع عني. قال له تكفيك نعمتي لان قوتي في الضعف تكمن. تكفيك نعمتي. فبولس الرسول فعلا عاني كتير جدا جدا. فهي الدعوه موجهه. عايز كده زي ما قال كده ان اراد احد يتبعني يحمل صليبه ويتبعني. فالدعوه ان احنا نتبع المسيح لا تكون دعوه ان احنا دعوه ان احنا لو تعدينا بالام وتعب ان احنا بنقول يا رب نشكرك في كل شيء يعني. قال له كده هوريه حاجات كتيره يعني كتير من اجل اسمه. واتكلمت على 4 حاجات عن الالم. نمبر 1 الالم بنعتبره عطيه من عند ربنا. ما اجمل ان احنا نذكر العباره دي. الالم عطيه، ما فيش واحد مننا هيقول يا رب عايز يتالم، بالعكس ده لما يكون حد بيتالم ولا حد تعبان بنصلي بحراره قلوبنا. ويا ريت كل واحد، في ناس تعبانه جدا نصلي يا رب اشفيهم، يا رب يا رب اشفيهم يا رب. مش عايزين حد ينتقل في الفتره دي يا رب، ولكن ارادتك تكون. فالالم بنعتبرها جفت لو ربنا سمح بيها، عطيه من عند ربنا. ويمكن القديس بوليكاربوس على فكره لما كان لما قالوا له انت هتروح روما، لما هو كان في سوريا وقال له تروح روما عشان تموت في اجل المسيح، فقالوا له لما تروح هيموت في جبل الاسود. فقال لهم اتمنى لما اوصل جبل الاسود دايما جعانه. فالشعب بتاعه حاول يمنعهم فحاولوا يطلعوا انه فراح كاتب لهم جواب بيقول لهم ايه؟ I have been granted more than what I asked for. بيقول لهم انا ربنا اعطاني عطيه عظيمه جدا ان انا سوف اوصل ليه دلوقتي. فمن فضلكم ما تمنعونيش. فاول شيء بننظر ليه ان هو لو في الم وتعب ولا ضيقه هي عطيه من عند ربنا. ما حدش يقول يا رب ادينا العطيه دي. العطيه الوحيده مش يقول يا رب اديها لي، ولكن لو ربنا سمح لنا نقول يا رب هي جفت من عندك يا رب نشكرك. ثاني شيء بنعتبرها بركه. يبقى اول شيء بنعتبرها عطيه بركه. وقال طوبى لكم اذا طردوكم وعادوكم وقالوا فيكم يعني طوبى يا بخت يا بركه للانسان اللي بيعاني من اي الم واي تعب واي شيء. ثالث شيء يا احبائي، ويمكن قلت برضه بالبركه ابونا في شيء كامل ربنا ينحي نفسه بسلام لما كان بيتعاني كان يقول لك انه الم ربنا اعطاني السرطان سماه مرض الفردوس. فاصبح المرض اتحول بدل ما هو تعب وكرش وحاجه الم، اصبح اللي يجي له يقول له ده يا عم يا بختك انت عندك مرض الفردوس، مرض الفردوس. فاصبح بركه. فاول شيء هو عطيه، نمبر 2 هو بركه، نمبر 3 هو صليب. بلا شك بلا شك اي الم واي ضيقه بنمر بيها بلا شك صليب. بس ازاي تنظر ليه؟ ازاي تنظر ليه؟ دايما تنظر للصليب تقول الم، وممكن انظر للصليب واقول حب، عطاء. انظر للصليب اقول لا ده في ان انا بشوف في تواضع. انظر للصليب اشوف رب المجد عليه. فبالتالي كل اموري مش خايف منها. فهو الصليب. وربنا قال كده يعني ان اردت ان تتبعني فاحمل صليبك. اخر شيء يا احبائي مش بس هو صليب، هو هو كراون، هو كنز او اكليل. فهو عطيه، هو عطيه من عند ربنا، هو بركه، هو صليب، واهم شيء في الاخر هو 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 كليل. وزي ما بقول كن امينا. النهارده الرساله بتاعتنا بتقول لنا حاجه واحده بس: كن امينا الى الموت فساعطيك اكل الحياه. ربنا يدينا يا ربي ان احنا زي ما هو مدح وعطى كلمه تشجيع لكنيسه سميرنا، نقول له يا رب ادينا كلمه تشجيع. كلنا محتاجين في هذه الفتره كلمه تشجيع لينا ان احنا يا رب نتعب، وان كلنا بنتالم، كلنا تعبانين، ولكن يا رب لتكن ارادتك وتكن مشيئتك. اتمنى كده جميعا كلكم بخير وسلام، وربنا يبارك فيكم ويبارك في حياتكم، وتكون هذه الفتره صدقوني فتره الواحد مننا مش يعني دايما بقول بقدر ما هي فتره غريبه شويه. ما حدش مننا يعني الواحد كان ابدا يجي في فكره يقول اسبوع الالام كده هكون في بيتي. مش ممكن. ده احنا بناخد اجازات عشان نروح الكنيسه. ازاي يا رب الكنيسه مقفوله؟ ازاي يا رب اسبوع الالام ده؟ بس يا ريت ان الواحد كلنا نفند الفتره دي ونقول يا رب لا. اكيد انت عامل زي ما قلت كده قدسوا صوم الندى، اكيد فتره اعتكاف. عايز اعتكف معاك، عايز اعتكف مع نفسي، عايز اعتكف دلوقتي كلنا معتكفين مع الاسره بتاعتنا. وحاول الفتره دي تكون اجمل فتره في حياتك يعني. اتمتع بيها بربنا، اتمتع بيها بربنا وغلط ربنا. ربنا يبارك فيكم ويبارك في حياتكم. انا زي ما نبهت ان الاسبوع ده بس زودنا خدمه تكون الصبحيه. كل يوم الصبح هنصلي صلاه بخور باكر بالطلبات بتاع الصوم الكبير، الطلبه اكليل ميتا بناطه. فهتكون الصلاه دي من الساعه 10 الصبح لتقريبا 11 وربع يعني. بناخد راحتنا فيها يعني. ورانا طبعا احنا في البيت. وبعد كده احنا معاكم جدول الاثنين والثلاث والاربع والخميس. هنديكم جدول الاسبوع الالام من يوم جمعه ختام الصوم الاسبوع الالام باذن الله على يوم الجمعه الجايه. يوم الخميس الجاي نديكم اخر يوم التنبيهات الاخيره اليوم ده. يوم الاربعاء بالليل نقول لكم اللي بيحصل يعني. ربنا معاكم ونتمنى لكم كل خير. وهنقف مع بعض، اختم معاكم نقول اكسيوس العذراء مريم، ونقول اكسيوس للقديس العظيم مرقس الرسولي، والقديس زين والقديس بكاليوس الكبير نقول له اكسيوس. وربنا يبارك فيكم ويبارك في حياتكم، لنا كل المجد والكرامه الابد امين.